Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Theron and Miz, and today we're going to talk about values.
Yes.
In the last video, we talked about culture and about how culture, family culture, it's in a current, it flows. And so today we're talking about values and why it's so important to think about these values.
Yes. So if you remember from our last video, we said that culture is the environment we create by the values that we embrace, we believe in, and we live by. And so values to us are kind of like what we cultivate in our house to create, like we just said.
What we believe, what we stand for.
Yeah. So if you picture it like a garden, last time we used the visual of a river and a current. This time we'll use a visual of a garden. And so in a garden, you have to cultivate it. You cultivate the soil and what you sow, and the things you plant in there. And so the values you cultivate in your garden are what you will reap from your garden. So you establish those in your home. Again, we said last time that you as parents, mom and the dad, you get to
starts with us as parents.
Yes, and you get to decide that. It took us maybe a year or two really sitting on it, praying about it. What is it? What are the values that we want our family to be known by? What do we want our family to live by? And of course that's the Word of God, but like particular things about our family that are super important to us as the mom and dad.
Yeah, so I wouldn't rush into just, hey, these are our 5 values. I would take time to think about it, and it just takes time. You know, if you're a if you've been in family for a while and married for a while, it might be a little bit easier because you've been married. But like if you're a younger family, just like take your time. It's okay. And I would recommend too, like not having more than like 7 values. Like I would keep them to like 5. We have 5. And we're going to share those with you today. So, but I would recommend having a smaller amount just because it's easier to digest for everybody. So
so again, we're talking about the garden values and cultivating that. And so just think about in Galatians where God says, or Paul writes, do not be deceived, God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. So that's like a principle of the Word of God, that what you reap, what you sow. Matthew says, and Jesus said this too, that you will know them by their fruits. You know a tree by the fruit that it bears, right? You'll know a family by the fruit that you see come out of that family. So you can tell what is being cultivated in that home. What are the values that are set in that home? So again, we're going to unpack them. Ours.
So you ready?
They're just examples, so you can get a taste of what.
Figure we share ours with you, and maybe you like some of the things that we share and can use them. But so here we go. Our first one is on earth as it is in heaven. You might be like, oh, that's so spiritual. So they had to go with the real spiritual one off the bat. But really, this does set the tone for us. We want God's presence in our home, in our lives, everywhere we go. Where the Glennys go, we want to bring heaven where we go, and so that's really important for us. It's a priority for us. So
an example of what that looks like for us as a family is we always want to bring our kids into situations where they're going to experience God's presence as much as possible, and so we want them to see the supernatural. We want them to see kingdom living. We want them to see other people that have kingdom values, and so one of the things we faithfully send our kids to since they've been 11 and 12 years old is a missions trip called Compassion Commission, and we've seen God move so powerfully in those times. And initially they were both a little nervous to go on these trips. Well, maybe one more than the other, but they were initially a little bit nervous, but God's presence is so powerful, and it's an opportunity for them to walk out the kingdom in serving a city, and then also getting powerful, godly speakers to speak into their lives. So that's just one small example of a summer trip that our kids go on. But
but we look for those. We look for those opportunities. It's really important to get our kids in those environments, right? Not only here at our home, but outside the home as well.
Right. Our next one that we have is a value that we believe that we are created on purpose for a purpose.
Yeah.
So that means that everybody in our family has value. People around us, we value them and the gifts that they have inside of them. And so we think of our family as a team. Like everybody has a role, everybody plays a vital role, they have purpose.
Yeah, if you think about it, our children are a gift. They're a gift to us. I know sometimes it feels like, the things are just going crazy. And you might not feel like, little Johnny's a gift right now or whatever. But every kid is a gift. And as a couple, as parents, we get to raise these, we have a period of time where we get to raise these kids up and shoot them out to their targets in life. So it's a privilege. And so, we believe, each one is, we want our kids to know this value inside now, that they have value. They have, and God is the one that that believes that they're valuable.
So part of that too is that we see and call out the gold in each other. We look for that. We actively look for that. Sometimes it's so much easier to see the dirt, and it's really hard to dig up the gold, so it takes work sometimes. And I remember one time where my oldest daughter and I were having a hard time with each other, hard time like getting along. And I just was like, God, please help me. I need to know how to guide her, direct her, how to be her mother, And I asked God I felt like actually God said to me, what do you see in her? What do you think she's gonna look like in 5 years? And I got this picture instantly. It wasn't even like a hesitation. I got this picture of her as a teenager, just like pouring her life out for people and serving the homeless in particular. In this picture I saw of her, and she just was beaming and serving and loving on people and speaking truth to people and teaching the gospel to people. And to me, that picture stays in my head. And to me now, when I see her, I see that. I'm like seeing that gold. I'm seeing the calling that God has put on her life and the gifts that she has. And I'm trying to remember that all the time, even the moments where I feel a little bit frustrated or maybe it's harder to see that gold. But we try to make an effort in what's the value in our kids? What is the gold that God's put inside of them?
We were very intentional about naming our kids too. And listen, even if you haven't done that, there's no judgment, no shame or anything, but you should look into what your kids' names mean. And if you are pregnant or gonna have kids, take the time to ask God what your kids should be. I could tell you stories of all four of our kids. And so we were very, very intentional about what their names should be, because when I say my son's name now, Elah, his name is Elah, which comes from the valley of Elah where David killed Goliath. That valley was a place of fear until the spirit of David came in there, and then it was a place of victory. So God told us that his name was supposed to mean victory, and that's why we named him Elah. And so, God has spoke to us our kids' names, and so that's one of the why we have this value, is we're created on purpose for a purpose. But kids, their names mean something, so it's important.
Another value that we have is that we are made for connection, and both with God and with each other. And so we're not made for isolation. God didn't make us and put us on this earth to isolate ourselves. We have to be connected to each other and with him. And so one of the big values that we have in our marriage is that we prioritize connection over being right. Like if there's a moment where we feel like we're disagreeing on something, we work towards connection and understanding versus trying to fight for who's right on that issue. And it's just super important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say too that because this is a value in our family, that whenever there's connection that's broken, and I can feel it with my kids, and my kids can feel it as well. But if it's a value that we have, and it's a value that they have as well, we're more likely going to fight for that connection.
Yeah, right.
And we're not going to be okay with that feeling of like, we're not on the same page, we're disconnected, so that's something that we're going to fight for.
Yeah. And you have to model that for your kids. You have to model it first for them to see, so that they understand that it's important to have connection and keep that connection first before.
Yeah, which part of it is, being unoffendable, right? If you want to maintain connection, is just having that posture of like, I'm not going to get offended, and we're going to work through this together. So. And
with that, forgiving easily, like that's something we tell them very often when there's an issue. Like, you need to be able to forgive, to let go of something, and that's part of being unoffendable.
Yeah. Yeah. So number 4 for us is that we are contributors, creators, initiators, and builders. Yes. All right. So this is something like is etched in our brains, and it's very specific, because we don't want to be known as just bystanders. We don't want to be known as people that are just kind of like, looking in from the outside, not really wanting to get their hands dirty.
Or just consumers. Yeah.
Right? We want, and maybe this is a selfish value, and I feel like we embody this as a couple, but like, we want our kids to think of themselves as, like, I'm an innovator, I'm a builder, God's called, and he's a creator himself, but he put that creative spirit in me too. We want them to know that and be confident in that. Yeah.
It's easy to just become a consumer or a bystander, because you just let things happen. But we really believe strongly that we're made to be proactive, to go after things and pursue the dreams that God's put inside of us.
Yeah. It's probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I think so too. It gets us both really excited.
Yeah.
We're very
because it's like a declaration too. Like, we are, we are creators. We're initiators. We're builders. We're not bystanders.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yep.
And the last one, we are thankful people, and we want to be people that are thankful. Thankful people are more pleasant to be around, I think, and so we try to be pleasant,
we don't allow much whining or complaining in the house. We're very sticklers on that. Like, we want our kids to understand whining is not fun to be around, complaining is not fun to be around. There's always something we can be thankful for.
Yeah. And if you're not, it sucks the energy out of the room, and not fun to be around. So that's really important. So those are our family values. Hopefully they speak to you. They're powerful in our home. We have them on the wall in our dining room, and so I guess the charge we want to give you is to take some time to think about your values.
Yeah.
We talk about the flow, right? There's a flow in your home. There's a culture. There's an environment that you're creating, and so what are the ingredients of that environment? What are your values?
Yeah.
What do you value? What do you believe? What will you stand for? What will you die for? And because those things will help you set the culture in your home.
Yeah.
So until next time, catch you later.